something totally different today, which is a 2013 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. I've actually owned this car for, well, since it was born, 2013. Although it was built in 2012, but it's a US 2013 model. So the process there, like, firstly you'll notice I'm sitting on the right hand side of the car, driving on the left hand side of the road, so I'm obviously not in America. So to get this car going in Australia, I had to buy it in the US first, and then ship it to someone in Australia who would convert it from left-hand drive to right-hand drive. And obviously with these cars, they were never designed to be right-hand drive, so that is certainly the job of a specialist. They have to manufacture all of the the dash and so on and move everything across. So yeah, I had that done over during 2013, and I've had this car on the road for a couple of years. I don't drive it very often. So what is it? Yeah, well, ZL1, you've probably seen plenty of reviews about them, all the technical details. So 6.2 litre supercharged V8, the LSA engine, and the Camaro ZL1, the original ZL1, the badge came from the fact that it had a special engine, the ZL1 engine. So what really distinguishes a ZL1 from, say, an SS is that supercharged engine. But GM have gone a lot further than that with this car, as you probably already know. So there's bigger brakes. I think I read somewhere that up to 30% of the parts on this car are different to an SS. Now, I've never driven an SS, so I can't compare, but I can tell you what this is like to drive. And just like you would have heard in all of the reviews, sitting in this thing is actually a little bit intimidating the first time. It's quite hard to see out of it. I think someone described it as like sitting in a bunker, and it is. And yeah, I remember the first few times I drove it, I thought, wow, I mean, you just got this vast kind of hood here with the carbon fibre inlaid there, which sort of looks very nice, but you just feel like you have no idea where the front of the car is, or any of the corners for that matter, because the rear visibility is, the three-quarter visibility is pretty poor as well. However, you do get used to it. One thing that's a little bit harder to get used to is how wide this car is. And driving it on Australian roads or comparing to a Japanese classic car, this thing is really wide. I mean, it feels wider than most roads. But yeah, again, you just learn to take a little bit more care with where you place the car, and being very aware of how wide out those big wheels and tyres are sitting. So that would be the first impression. The second thing you notice about this car is that everyone looks at it. I mean, you get more looks in this than you would in a Ferrari or a Lamborghini by miles. You get people, I've had people run out in front of the car giving me thumbs up. I've had people leaning out of cars taking videos and photos, kids screaming on the side of the road at it, and it's just everywhere you go. Like, I just went to the service station there, filled up with gas, and I got asked by 3 people in a space of 5 minutes about the car. It has an enormous street presence. I mean, it looks sensational, so mean and aggressive, and it also sounds brilliant. The ZL1 comes with the same exhaust system as the higher end Corvette, which name escapes me now, so it's a really good system. And I think that about the only modification I've made to this car is that you can remove a fuse in the back of the car that controls the dual mode exhaust, so that you can have the exhaust baffles open all the time. So I run around with it like that, and it sounds absolutely epic. This one's got a few extra options. It's got sunroof, it's got the carbon fibre inlay in the bonnet. Performance-wise, this is a really heavy car. Like, this is 1,800 odd kilos, so putting that in context, it's a similar weight to the new Nissan GTR, but if you look back at some of the older cars that I drive, say the R31 Skyline for instance, this is a full 600 kilos heavier than an R31 Skyline. And it feels it, it really does feel like a heavy car. But compensating for that, you've got this supercharged V8 engine that just has immense amounts of torque. and it's there immediately. Like, there's no waiting for things to wind up or spool up or whatever. This thing has just loads and loads of power, more than you could ever need in everyday driving immediately. Really nice things about it. I like the steering wheel, Alcantara. I like the shift knob, and the gearbox is really short shift. It's the shortest shift I've ever had on a car, even shorter than the new Focus RS that I've got, which has a short shift. This is even shorter again. Really nice, and you can really move that gearbox. It's really solid, and you can change quickly. The seats, I'm not a huge fan of the seats in this car. They're actually a little bit narrow in the bum, and I'm not exactly an overweight guy. Other things, air conditioning in Australian climate, it's not super effective. It's okay. The entertainment system is now, it's 4 years out of date. It doesn't have digital radio or anything like that, but it does do Bluetooth. Pairs to your phone okay, and all the hands-free stuff works pretty nicely. So yeah, that's all good. What else do I like about it? It's actually somewhat practical. The back seats have enough room that you can throw reasonable sized kids in the back. It's got a pretty decent sized boot. I haven't used this car heaps. I've owned it 4 years and I've done 4,400 kilometres in it. And the type of driving that I've come to do in it now is mostly freeway driving. I told you how wide it is, and I'm driving through traffic here, nearly bouncing off other cars. And it's also, because this car's a manual, this is a 6-speed manual, I wouldn't get a manual car to drive around the city. The clutch is kind of heavy, it's not too bad, but it's just a lot of work to drive this car, this manual car around town. And so if I was going to buy one of these as more of a daily driver, I'd actually prefer to buy the Auto. But then I've taken this on a few country drives, a few hours at a time, and on the open road, this thing is the king. It is just incredible. When you've got a wide enough road, the suspension, which it's got Chevrolet's magnetic ride suspension, which has several modes here. So you've got Tour and Sport, and you've got a traction control off mode there as well. I just drive around to it in Sport mode unless I get on a really rough country road, and I put it in Tour. And the suspension's fantastic. This would have to be one of the best sounding cars I've ever owned. And I'm trying to think, is it better sounding, say, than a really good tuned up RB26? Well, it's different. What I like about this exhaust system is all the pops and bangs, and all that noise just adds to all the drama. And here I am changing lanes, having to look everywhere because I can't see a bloody thing. The side mirrors, the side mirrors are not super effective, and I think it's kind of one of the costs of the left-hand drive, right-hand drive conversion, that they're not actually really set up right kind of angles. I can't get the mirrors to angle properly, but look, there are compromises. It's absolutely a sensational engine, and I can see why people want to put the LS engine into other cars. Way too tempting though to use that power and just smash the speed limit. All right, well, thanks for watching. It's just a quick sort of driving impressions of my old, now getting old, 4-year-old Camaro ZL1. And yes, it's a Camaro. I kind of, I might be a Kiwi who lives in Australia, but I still call it a Camaro. That was the name it was given in the States, and it actually deliberately is supposed to sound like Aero, so it really should be pronounced Camaro. And yeah, it's a ZL1, it's not a ZL1. So that's, I try to, if that's the way it was named, that's the way it should be pronounced. Anyway, that's my rant on the Camaro. Yep, tune in for more videos. I've got some really cool videos coming up. We're doing tuning on the R34 GTR, and we're putting a computer into the R32 GTR in the next few weeks. So subscribe for more, check out my Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I'll just finish off with a little acceleration here for you, and always let it roll a bit to... Whew. Yeah, okay. Yeah, as I was saying, always let it roll a little bit, get a bit of speed up, otherwise it's just going to spin those rear tyres, even with traction control on. But yeah, she's tremendous amounts of thrust. it's more like a rocket ship than it is a car.